Okay, guys, welcome to our session here. We're all about building an app really quickly, really easily. I'd like to welcome you to Dreamforce, but guess what? You guys are Dreamforce. We wouldn't be much without you guys. You're sharing stories. This isn't a top-down hierarchical organization. In fact, the whole spirit of Dreamforce is that our customers talk to each other and share great stories. So really, in fact, find those people down the back. You want to come up front here because you guys look really lonely. Could you come on up here? I'll be honest with you. I gotta come clean. I used to be real nerdy developer type, and I went to see Tony Robbins on Monday, and he just changed my life radically. So you guys, I'll do your eating. I'm going to make you all jump up. No, I'm not really. So, but I'm going to channel some of the points he was making about engagement and some of the important stuff. You know, sharing those stories. I'd love you guys. I wish there was more people here so you could all turn to each other and share stories. Why don't you find somebody just for like 30 seconds or a minute and share your story, why you're here, why you came to Dreamforce, and what you want to achieve if you haven't already done something with Salesforce Platform. So is that possible? You guys okay with that? Because think about it, right? If you're listening passively, eating your lunch, you might retain 5 or 10% of what we're talking about today. But if you're engaged and you're emotional and you're jumping up and down, I'm afraid of falling off the stage here, guys. You're going to retain a lot more, and you're going to get a lot more from the session. So in the spirit of sharing, a couple of guys here I ran into over the course of the year really graciously accepted our invitation to share their applications with you guys. So again, back to sharing and getting examples. When you talk to another customer, you're not hearing it from Salesforce, you're hearing it from somebody else who's been through the same thing before. So you get to avoid pitfalls, and they'll help share best practices with you. So I'd like to introduce Rich and Kyle here today, and they'll be talking about their applications in a couple of minutes. So this is our safe harbor statement. If you haven't seen this before, it's basically our legal department tells us that you should make your purchasing decisions based on capabilities and functions that are available today. We may talk about some future-facing stuff. So that's me. I'm a platform specialist at Salesforce. I'm a former developer. And my newfound confidence here standing on stage is not all due to Tony Robbins, but basically I take care of the application pieces that are beneath the sales and service cloud. So if you see the whole stack and you've got your objects for sales and you've got your objects for service, when you take those specialty objects out, you're left with an infrastructure that provides a whole bunch of services that you get out of the box without having to do an awful lot of work. So anybody recognize this place? No? Really? You all from out of town? Let me show you. Here's the laser point. Look, I got a laser pointer here, you guys. So I'm doing. Do you see this here? Anybody recognize that landmark? Okay, so this is the Bay. This is San Francisco here, and you're on the Marin Headlands, and you're looking across the Bay. This is San Francisco. This is that big tower up there they have up in Diamond Heights. Essentially, put yourself in a position where you're in doubt. You're afraid to do something. Anybody here, just say aye if you've been in doubt of yourself and you didn't feel confident to do something. Say aye. Come on, Tony Robbins style. Let's hear it. Come on, say aye. All right, so we've all been here. Either you want to build an app for your business or you want to write an app, and guess what? It's too expensive or it's too complex. You don't have the technical skills to pull it off. You're always looking for these excuses to not do it, or indeed the fear of failure itself, right? You might spend 6, 12 months and a ton of money, and guess what? It's the wrong app, or it doesn't get adopted. So Salesforce, consider us, look at that Photoshop, guys. That took me hours to do. So we want to be your bridge to traverse these shark-infested waters of building an app, in other words. So how do we do that, right? So if you take a look at the services we provide for you guys. So out of the box, when you click Create an App in Salesforce with one button, okay, you inherit all of these capabilities in your application. So things like security, reports and dashboards, the automated workflow capabilities, pretty much all of these come inherent in every single application. You don't have to plug libraries in there. You don't have to jump through hoops and make sure the versions are compatible. It just comes magically. That's part of the real power of building applications on the Salesforce platform. And pretty much allows you to develop applications on any device. And if you write it once, it can run on a desktop or on a mobile device. Pretty much bring your own device. So that's very powerful too. And these applications typically come in 3 flavors. So there's the Sales Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud you're used to seeing. They're our big flagship products. We've got a couple of thousand applications on our partner network, which is sort of like the Apple App Store, if you imagine, for business applications. And that's where third parties have built an application, and it just plugs right into your application and it runs. And again, it runs the gamut. Some of them are a couple of bucks, some of them are a little more expensive, some are free. And then the third category is custom apps, and that's what I love, you guys. That's why I'm trying to engage with you at an emotional, deep level, so you guys are inspired to build your own custom application on the Salesforce platform. So another big advantage of the Salesforce platform is the skill set, right? So pretty much we've made it very easy for business analysts and indeed business people to create about 80% of the application with drag and drop capability. So you run through a wizard and it holds your hand. And it's a great little workbook. I'm gonna show you where to find that. But I'd love you guys to take a couple of hours and just run through it. You'll be amazed how much you can develop with just a couple of hours work on the platform. And the 20 rule of this side here is writing code. Sometimes it's needed if you've got some secret sauce or some unique algorithm. We do give you that capability as well under the hood. So you're not just limited to the stuff you can run through a wizard, creating your data model, creating your workflows. But if you've got some like sort of super high-end, complex formula or algorithm to run, you can also write that on the platform too. But again, that's typically the smaller end of the scale. So we maximize the declarative work and minimize the code required to develop it. And just from a perspective of a company, it's not just the front end where we are really, really strong with engaging users, engaging customers, engaging employees, but we're also breaking in applications in different departments internally. So for example, we're going to see from our finance compliance, and Rich developed a very rich and deep interface with, that he's helped run his company with too as well. So the back office work as well, we can integrate with ERPs, and we've indeed some companies with companies like Canandi or Ascent who are indeed replacing or putting the ERP on the Salesforce platform. And the benefit of doing something like that is that these applications are in the same data model. So if you're familiar with that, you won't need to do integration or ETL back and forth between the 2 different applications because they share the same underlying infrastructure. So very, very, very powerful indeed. So this is the engagement piece, okay? So guys, get your smartphones out or start writing or take notes or somehow engage. But this is sort of the meat. This is what gets you building an application your very own self. So take a look at this. It's developer.salesforce.com, this URL. And if you click on Library and go down to Workbook Tutorials, this Force.com workbook is the first one on the list. It'll take you a couple hours to go through it. And you're going to learn all about creating, it's a textbook example of an application. Like, I think it's a warehouse application where it's an invoice and a bunch of line items and how to do one-to-many, all that complex database stuff, and then how to create a workflow to automate a process. And then change the user interface and then do reports and dashboards on the back end of it. So it's really powerful. Really encourage you guys to do this. And in order to do all this, you see the sign up button over here, the green button. You can get your own free developer org in Salesforce as well, and it doesn't expire. And you can pretty much walk through this hands-on and develop your own application in this dev environment. So it takes 5 minutes to set that up. Okay, y'all stoked? Everybody all excited and going to do this? Or is it like, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, cool, great. Okay, so what's that? Well, this is free. You don't even have to be a Salesforce subscriber yet. This is a free developer environment. If you don't, you can put your own together and start building this stuff out and learn how to develop on Salesforce. Yeah, that's a good question. Any other questions, guys? Anybody have hang-ups or don't feel confident enough to develop an app in Salesforce in 2 hours? Okay. So without further ado, a couple of these applications I had my guests here. Cal's going to go first and show you a finance application that we built a couple of months ago. And take it off, Cal. There you go. Yeah. Hey, sure, laser beam. Don't kill anybody.
Try not to. Okay. Cool. Thanks, Vic. Yeah, you bet. So my name is Kyle Adler. I'm an analyst with the finance compliance team, and I work for Salesforce. And I'm going to explain to you all a problem that we had with finance compliance and how we use an app built on the Force.com platform to solve that problem. So within finance compliance, we have an initiative known as the War on Spreadsheets. And the purpose of this initiative is to reduce the risk of spreadsheets that impact our financial statements. Spreadsheets expose us to risk with data manipulation, human error. You can accidentally delete a cell out of a formula, or formula out of a cell and not realize it. There's additional risk to using spreadsheets that you're not exposed to when you use data within systems itself. So we have an initiative to reduce that risk of use of spreadsheets. And one component of that initiative is inventorying all of the spreadsheets that are within scope of our spreadsheet policy criteria. And we decided to manage that inventory years ago within a spreadsheet itself. So we were inventorying spreadsheets in a spreadsheet. We knew how ironic that was. We know it wasn't a good process. We had a lot of problems with this spreadsheet inventory. And that's how we came to building this solution on the Force.com platform. This spreadsheet was in use up until about a year ago when we rolled out our solution. But the problem with this spreadsheet was there were a lot of versions floating around. We had no single source of truth. The business would come in, download their spreadsheet, make changes to it, send that spreadsheet out to their team, send it back to us, and we would have to reconcile it back to whatever version we thought was our source of truth. There were so many versions floating out there that we really had no idea what our accurate inventory was or how to report on those numbers. There was no accountability. Anyone could go into the spreadsheet, make changes, delete spreadsheets, add spreadsheets, accidentally delete rows out, and we had no idea what changes were made, when they made them, why they made them. It was a really painful process to us. It was tough mudding for us in finance compliance. So it required a lot of work. This spreadsheet would go around through 5 or 6 different members of our team. We'd have to go in and reconcile that back to a source of truth. And it was a lot of effort that took time away from other projects that we had going on. And this was not value-added work by any means. It was stuff that we had to do to get to our accurate reporting. But they were not, it was really a waste of time for us in compliance. And the reason for that was it was garbage data. Salesforce grows so fast and we're constantly changing quarter over quarter that the fact that our spreadsheet was up to date once a quarter, it would be out of date instantly. People would change processes, retire spreadsheets, forget to go into the spreadsheet and retire and notify us. We had bad data coming in and we had bad data coming out, resulting in a lot of issues with our spreadsheet inventory. So every time we would come in and do our quarterly testing, we'd select samples that were either retired, people wouldn't know what we were talking about when they would retire, when we would request a spreadsheet. They'd look at us with a deer in headlights look and just really have no idea what we were talking about. So these are actual emails I got from the business with our old spreadsheet that was in use. You could see, they would tell us it's difficult to strategize with this spreadsheet. It's taking a lot of work and time away from other initiatives that we have going on. We need a cutoff date. We can't keep refreshing this inventory. The spreadsheet's cumbersome and tiresome and a lot of effort. We're having to manually calculate our inventory counts. We think we start with, let's say, 257. We retire 28. We don't know which 28 we're retiring or which 19 we added, when we added them, why we added them. We think this is our number. Who knows if this math is even right, to be honest, but we assume it is. And then the accountability. People would be listed as spreadsheet owners with our inventory, and they would say, I'm listed as here. I don't know what this spreadsheet is. I don't know what you're talking about, who owns it, what it is. There's a lot of confusion and a lot of headache. And so everyone was really frustrated. We were at a despair. We were at a crossroads. We actually had refreshed our policy in 2 or 3 years. And so earlier this year when we were refreshing it, we decided we have to replace our spreadsheet inventory. We need a solution that can scale with our growing business, where Salesforce is heading, so they don't keep running into this issue every quarter. And that's actually when I met Mick. So we originally went to a few external vendors, and what they had tried to sell us on were either far too complex or far too expensive for what we needed, and they didn't really solve any of the problems that we were having. They wanted to partner with us, they wanted to help, but we really just needed a basic tool that could replace our inventory itself. And so I got Mick's contact information, and we had 1 or 2 working sessions just explaining to him our problem, what I just walked you all through, kind of demoed the spreadsheet inventory and said, what are our options here? And without hesitation, he said, use the Force.com platform. There's no reason that you can't replace this inventory and build it on the platform itself. And there's going to be huge benefit to you and the business because of all the functionality that the tool enables for us. So this is actually what we ended up building. This is just a general example of one. And I'll actually demo the tool in a minute so you can see it in real purpose. But it's really much cleaner user interface. It's much easier to read. We don't have the risk of people accidentally deleting cells out of the spreadsheet. We can break it up by security level. So if we don't want people to see risk rating, so we risk rate all of our spreadsheets within our inventory so we can focus on our higher risk spreadsheets. And if we don't want people to be able to manipulate risk rates, we can protect that from users. We can segregate views between impact assessment and likelihood of error sections, impact assessment, likelihood of errors. There's a lot of functionality that we now have using the platform that we didn't previously have with using just a spreadsheet. So now we have one source of truth. We have a single source of information that we can always go to for accurate reporting. Users we don't have multiple versions floating around. They can log into the platform itself, make their updates as they go, and there's really just one source of information that we'll always have for us to rely on. There's accountability. We literally check one box within the platform when developing that says turn audit history on, and now we can see who made what changes, why they made changes. They can use Chatter to explain changes that they made. We can run reports off that, so we can see where we were 6 months ago, we can see where we're at now, we can see where we want to go in the future. There's a lot more accountability now using the platform that we didn't have with this manual spreadsheet. Controls. This is a huge functionality that we gained to it. So because it's built on the Force.com platform, we have all the functionality that everyone has because of multi-tenant architecture. So we're just a small compliance group. We're not the big Bank of America, Wells Fargo that have a lot of money to throw at developing apps and platforms. But because they put in that effort to strengthen our platform, to put ourselves up with regulations and compliance, we benefit from that from being a small compliance group because we have all the same functionality. There's nothing segregated. We have reporting, we have protection, we have trust. I mean, everything in there is enabled to us with no additional cost. And really real-time information now. We have real-time reporting. When I need to run metrics or dashboards, all I have to do is, and I'll show you the dashboard, all I have to do is click refresh and everything's right there. We don't have to manually calculate anything in emails. We don't have to do it in the spreadsheet itself. Everything we need is right there, real-time information for us. So the most crazy part about this has been the simplicity of it. I don't have any coding background at all. I work in finance compliance. I'm not an IT guy. And really, if you can write Excel formulas, you can develop an app on the platform. I thought Mick was going to do all the work for me. He didn't really do that much. He pretty much sent it. He pretty much sent it all off to me to play.
It was going to take maybe 6 to 8 weeks to build it, right?
Right.
How long did it actually take?
Working hours, maybe 12, 14 hours. It was no time at all. And this was a spreadsheet we used for 2 or 3 years. And literally in the course of days, we had a demo going that we could play around with. We can, fine tune it, but the actual meat of the work was no time at all. It's literally dragging and dropping. There's some really basic, similar to Excel formulas that you put in there, but it was crazy how easy of a process it was, which I did not expect at all. I don't know why we didn't do this much earlier, because of how much time it's going to save us by using this tool instead of the spreadsheet itself. And really the best feature of this is the flexibility it allows us. So our inventory was, like I said, we've been 2 or 3 years since we had refreshed our policy. Salesforce is a completely different company in those 2 or 3 years from when we started. And now we have the ability to grow and mature with this tool itself. We have additional functionality that we would never had with the spreadsheet. We have additional controls in place. We're able to change the way we're going to do our spreadsheet compliance because of this tool itself. We can focus on much different initiatives that would have been taking time from other projects. So if I go into the tool real quick, there we go. So this alone is a huge benefit for everyone. We have a welcome screen. It was really basic to build, just once again, drag and drop. We have an FAQ for the business. They can go in and read some documents, some questions that we have in there. It's a one-stop shop for them to get all the information they need. If they're curious about the controls we're going to test as compliance, they can always go to this control reference document, and it has right in there listed all of the documents all of the controls that we're going to test. We have training videos in here. If they want to watch a training on what spreadsheet policy is, what controls we're going to test, what our schedules are, they have everything in here that they can use, that they can refer back to, instead of having to come to us for questions or ask their peers. It really is a one-stop shop for everyone. So the fins are the actual individual records, and this was the example I had up on within the deck. And you'll see how really straightforward they are, but that just shows we didn't need anything really fancy. We just needed something to solve the problem. And so you can go in, and these are all just drop-down lists, or for the majority of them. Some are free text fields, but you can pick different entities. You can pick different thresholds. You can pick all different rationale. And really the most complex thing we have in here is this risk rating, which is literally summing these two numbers, 4.5 and 5, and thankfully that does sum to 9.5. So that's how basic it was for us to be able to replace this spreadsheet inventory. We still, like I said, we still have chatter. People can go in and mention people, anyone that they have questions. I'm not sure who's in here, but I mean, we expect a lot of use out of this chatter for the functionality it allows users to have. We have static weights in here, which this is really just to help us scale. So as we continue to evolve and we want to change what we test based on, we have this ability to manipulate data here. If we want to start heading spreadsheet compliance in a different direction, all we have to do is change our weights, which is what's used to calculate the risk of the spreadsheet. All we do is change these weights. We can add weights, we can remove weights, and we have the audit tracking within it to see, hey, in 2014, where were we focused on? What criteria did we consider to be risky? In 2015, we can change this to however we want, and it's really basic changes that would take 5 minutes to completely refocus where we want our spreadsheet compliance to go. And then finally, the dashboards, my favorite part, because I get asked for dashboards all the time. We're able to just easily create dashboards that we never had with the spreadsheet inventory itself, or we would have to manually create them every time. But literally here, it's if somebody doesn't want to see a pie chart and they want to see it as a bar, you literally drag and drop, it'll switch it for me. If I want to see, I don't even know, I think this one's a donut. If you want to see the donut, drag and drop, it's done. All you have to do is refresh. It takes no time at all. And we have live data. And I just have to, it takes 2 seconds to refresh, and then I pull it, and it's done. And so this is a huge win for us because we never had this functionality before. We can always, well, it's a little slow right now, but we could always create these manually, but now there it goes. But the huge benefit for us. It gives us a lot of additional dashboards, reporting metrics, and really helps paint a clearer picture for us on where we want our spreadsheet compliance policy to go. Cool. I'm going to hand it over to Rich now. I think we'll do Q&A at the end. So, thank you.
Okay, I'm good. We're good. All right, so I have 10 minutes to try to change your paradigm on the world and try to help your company be better. I know you're not here to see me, you're not here to hear about my company, you're here to take something back to your company and make it better. So my name is Rich Slack, I'm the Chief Financial and Marketing Officer of Chrysalis. I know those things sound at odds, but it works. I'm also the founder and CEO of a company called Meridian Meds. It's a pharmacy, closed-door pharmacy. Let me give you a brief use case just so you can put into context what I'm going to show you in our demo. So Chrysalis provides services across Utah, Nevada, and Texas. We have 15 geographic areas. It's 21 office leases, and so we need to track all those leases, when renewal rates are coming up, what is the new renewal, what is the security deposit, and how do we get that back. We help people with intellectual disabilities. They have an IQ of 70 or less. They have mental retardation, traumatic brain injury, autism, Prader-Willi syndrome. We provide 24-hour care, 365 days a year of these individuals. We help them go shopping, learn skills, do everything they need to. We help anybody from 9 years old up through Jack. Jack here was 92 when he passed away. He passed away a couple months ago. Very cool story on our website. You can check it out if you want to. They actually named a baseball field after him. There's really good community integration. We also help people like Austin. Austin is in our services, and we help him. He lives with his family, but we can go in and then help him take him to day programs, let his family have a break, teach skills, stuff like that. So for people like Jack, in our system, we need to track their contacts. We need to track their contract, their state funding that we get, what services are we supposed to provide, and then the billing that goes against that contract. We need to track their doctors, their doctor appointments, all their prescriptions, when they take them, what they are. We need to track their insurance. Are they on a primary, do they have a primary insurance, or is it Medicaid or Medicare? We have to track their Social Security income, how much money they have, we're the representative payee. So there's tons of data that we're tracking on each and every client. All the to-dos and tasks associated with helping a client live in the community. We also have 250 homes spread out across Utah, Nevada, and Texas. That's 250 additional leases, 250 lease renewals. Each home has 3 or 4 utilities, so we have 1,000 utilities that we're paying and then dividing it by the people in the house. So a very complex business structure that we're dealing with. And we also have 100 vehicles, scheduling of those vehicles, who's taking what where, who's going to the doctors, who's going to the therapist, and so there's a lot of stuff that we have to keep track of as we do our stuff. So our challenge is we had a homemade platform. It was built on .nuke, and we're dealing with social workers, right? And so we need to have something that engages people into the platform. So this is our old platform, and it's engaging, it has little icons, that type of stuff. But the problem was it was end of life. It no longer was supported with security. We couldn't keep up with HIPAA. And then our developer, who was the sole developer, who was very good, now goes back into active duty military. And so now I have a ticking time bomb in a very nice air-conditioned facility that's about to blow up and ruin our company, right? And so what do? So we start Googling around trying to find a system, and we come up with Salesforce. And just like Mick had showed you, there you can get in and you can set up a developer org. So I set up a developer org and I started going in there and I'm click, 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 click. I'm like, hey, I got a name. Click, 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 click. Social security number, boom, right? And I'm starting to do it. I'm doing it declaratively. This is awesome. But then I show it to my people and they're like, because it's a long scrolling list, right? Anybody have that issue? Right? I get an amen. There you go. So the functionality was there in spades, but the UI wasn't. And so we're like, okay. And so there wasn't the chemistry with our data. And when we're dealing with people, when we're dealing with houses, when we're dealing with prescriptions and data, we need to have that people-centric feel or we lose something, right? We still need to be caring for people. And so what we did, we came to Dreamforce in 2012. We saw some cool websites, some cool apps, and we're like, yeah, Dreamforce, woo! Right? Yeah. We're excited. Look what we can do. And so we negotiated with Salesforce, and the pricing for Salesforce was very affordable, fit within the budget. Now we said, okay, tell me about the user interface. Well, they hooked us up with a private developer that was, very good. $300,000 to $500,000 to build out our user interface. Non-starter, right? I'm dealing with people, with individuals with disabilities like Jack. That money needs to go to help Jack. That money needs to go help other things. I have a limited budget. And so what do? Depression set in. It's horrible. So we killed Salesforce. We said no more Salesforce. And we went out, found another platform, found a team of developers that would develop on it. And from December 20th, 2012 is when we first engaged them till January 11th, 2014, they worked on building us our new platform. And we had a couple meetings, they had a couple restarts, and we're sitting there and they're having trouble getting the calendar working. And I'm like, this isn't gonna work. But when you're stuck in that position, you're not saying, this isn't gonna work. You're like, they'll get it. They'll get it. Oh, we hope they get it. They better get it, right? And you're at the mercy of the developers. And I'm like, And so finally we started talking to them about permission sets and roles, and they said, oh yeah, each of your users, we have 1,600 employees spread across Utah, Nevada, and Texas. 360 of them will be on the platform in the beginning. And we're like, they told us that we had to individually set up their security profiles. Each person. Not a profile, not a permission set, each person. We're like, no, we're screwed, right? And so I'm like, Salesforce can do it if we can overcome the gap of the user interface and showing whatever we want to see. So I start Googling around on the website. I'm like, no, man, is there anything? It's been 2 years now, right? It's been a year later. And finally I come and I realize I'm going the wrong way. And so I'm like, we got to do something. And depression sets in again. And finally, I've come across this website. It's called Squid. And I watched a 1 minute and 30-second video, and the whole time I'm smiling from ear to ear. And I'm like, I did something good in this life because I had just been blessed big time. So I have this developer org, right, that already has all the fields in it, has this information, and Squid allows you to plug in to your developer org for free and develop whatever you want into their platform to test it, to see. So I'm like, all right. So I plugged it in that night, and I have 3 jobs, right? I'm finance, marketing, I'm running a pharmacy, so I don't have time. So from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. every night, I'm starting to dig in here and see what I can do, Within 2 days, I had already reskinned all my stuff and had a beautiful user interface. Because these are the type of things I can do. These are the types of things I needed. Tab sets, calendars on the person, calendars on the houses, calendars on the vehicles, specific to the house, buttons, records, all this stuff, right? Images that are easy to add so I can add their person's profile picture right away, right? I don't want to settle anymore. I want beautiful UIs for my people. I've heard, I need to correct a fallacy that people have. I've talked to a couple people, and they say, well, it's for internal users. It doesn't need to look good. Bull crap! Bull, right? There's something called internal marketing. When you're engaging your employees, you're trying to get them in on your vision, in on your dream. And if they're happy to be in your user interface, they're more likely to do cool things in the user interface. They're more likely to have pride in your company. But I get it. If it costs $300 or $500,000 to get UI for your internal, absolutely. Yep, they can deal with ugly. But if we can get it, but we shouldn't have the paradigm that we can't have good user interface. It should be, can we afford user interface? And if it's there, we should give it to them. So anyway, I looked at all this stuff, plugged it in, looked at their tutorials. Within 2 days, I'd reskinned my whole thing. I'm like, oh, okay, now we're cooking. So I presented it to our team, and they said the same thing. So I actually brought the developers in. We did a webinar because they were out of Idaho. And I said, this is what we've come up with. Because they did their demo, and then I showed them our demo. I'm like, whoa, how'd you do that? Who did that? I said, I did. And they said, you're a CFO. I said, yep. When did you do it? At night. They said, we've had Salesforce people. It's never looked like this. I don't know. It is. So anyway, with the power and functionality of Salesforce with the overlay of Squid, I was able to develop some cool stuff. So I scrapped my developer org, set up a whole brand new org, reprogrammed all the stuff in it, threw Squid on over the top of it, and by May 10th, working from 10 to 2, I had rebuilt our whole system. And it's beautiful, it's functional. Now we have Chatter engaged with it, and it's cool stuff. So let me show you what I did. And I'm not a programmer. I'm not a developer. Oh, I got kicked out. I set the high bar that's really high, huh? That's not mine. Okay, so we have houses. I told you that. So here's our houses, because 3 to 4 individuals live in each house. And so in the houses, I'm going to be tracking. So here's our list view. If I had more areas for the corporate office, I could actually click here and I'd see all the different areas. And so they'd show up there. I can filter. I can show by residential houses, by different types of houses. And so I can do all that type of stuff. I can also search. Watch this. Instead of a list view, I want pictures. There's all my houses. Oh, I know what those are. Those are actually houses. It's not data anymore, right? If I click into house 1, I can go into my house, and in each house there is a client. Oh look, there's the 3 clients at the bottom. That's a related object on the same page. I'm not a developer. It's cool stuff. Right? Down here I got the address. The address is automatically, I put it in, I can Google map it. I can put those same buttons you have on your Salesforce UI in here, put a little icon, some eye candy, right? So people are glad to be there. I can go over appointments. So this is all the appointments for the house. So I have a custom calendar for that house that aggregates the data of the 3 clients that are in that house and shows all the events, all the doctor's appointments, anything for that person for that house. I look at that house, I know where they're going, all 3 of them. So then I can schedule it better, right? So here I have a podiatrist appointment for Porter Adams. Here I have one for Marcus Jones. Here's John Doe. Those are my people in my home. I can track my utilities. Notice the tab interface. This is all on the account, these different fields. But when you go to your file, you're not, if I'm looking for utilities, then I want to see them in utilities, but I'm not going to be looking for utilities every day. So I want to kind of put those away. And when you need them, you go click on them, right? Same thing with leases. We have house inspections. So there's some cool stuff. Let me hurry and click back into the clients. So the same thing can be done for the client level. Is I could have clicked on one of those pictures to go into my client. But so here's all my clients. Here's their ages, birth dates. If I need another field, I just go in. I don't call my developer to do it. I just go over to here, click, 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 and now I have another field in that column. So here I got pictures. So here's the pictures of all my clients and all the different homes. So I'm going to jump into Porter real quick. I only have like a minute. So if I jump into Porter, then for Porter, I have a lot of data I need to track, right? So here's his general information. Here's the stuff that's responsible for him. Notice that the picture stays up the whole time, because if I'm looking at his medical profile, I want to still know I'm looking at Porter. If I click on his transfers, I can use a flow. This is a flow right here. So I could actually click through here and transfer Porter to a different home, which is automatically creating a line or a record on a different object called transfers, and then also changing some fields. So using flows, I can transfer Porter to a different house. Oh, the mouse is really hard. Oop. There we go. Oh. It's one of those finger mouses. Okay, so we'll skip that. But using Visual Flow, you can do that. Here's all the medical stuff. So the medical department goes into the medical tab. And notice this is loading when I click on it. So I'm not getting a I'm not getting a speed hit by going in here. So here I have all the information. I have prescriptions. I have the medical appointments coming up. But I can also click Print Medical Forms. And from this, it's going to use Conga Composer, take all those prescriptions, create a doctor sheet. So when I go to the doctors, it has all his age, social security numbers, all that information in there so that we can show the doctors what about this person, right? All the information they need to go through a doctor appointment. Let's open that real quick. So I have a custom form with Conga. Again, they helped me set this up. So now I have this cool medical appointment form, right? Here's his name, date of birth, here's his age, social security numbers, here's all the medications that are current, and so I can do all these cool things, and again, I'm not a developer. I track all the tasks, all the contacts, the billing. Do I have one more minute?
Yeah, sure.
Are you sure? Okay, really cool stuff. So on a contract, I can actually create a contract, and then on the billing's hard, right? Because I have to click on a person, I have to pick what I'm billing for. So this, down the left-hand side, is a queue. So this is anybody that has an open line item for this billing area, or they're open for an absence or whatever. If I click on the person, it automatically loads them into the right side, loads their data in, and then I can hit the plus button here, and then I can say, oh, the absence was on the 2nd to the 4th. The absence reason was because he was home with his family. I can hit save, and now I have a queue that auto-loads information, so I don't have to go click, 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 click. All I have to do is walk down this list, and so now I'm going to do Aaron. I'm going to click on Aaron's name. His stuff is loaded into the queue, Aaron Appleby, his contract dates. So now I'm billing against that contract in an easy-to-use way. It's cool stuff. I'll stop there. There's other things in here, but I was able to do it between January and August. I've already put my people in, run them for beta for 2 months, and I'm not a developer. 8 months working from 10 to 2 in the morning, not every day, and I have this beautiful user interface, beautiful functionality. And so this is the new power of Salesforce. This is what you can do if you dig in and want to do something.
Okay, so time for you guys to engage again. Any questions from the audience? Maybe step up to the microphone. Let's see if we can all hear you.
Hi, you said you're using a Squid to do the UI part of it. Whatever you showed us as the demo, all these visual pages are built using the Squid?
Yes.
That's good stuff. Good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm not throwing a pitch out, but there's Squid people right here. So if you have specific questions for Squid people, they're up here too. They can help.
Oh, cool.
After.
Good to know. I'll speak to them after that.
Yeah.
I have a question to other person. You said you had an inventory of a data, the spreadsheets, and then you transformed that to the Salesforce object standpoint. What did you do with the existing data? How did you import it, the inventory
Yeah, so we use a tool called Data Loader, and it could literally just data load everything from the spreadsheet into the tool itself within the matter of seconds.
Data Loader is free, by the way.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
There are other tools for integration as well. If you've got massive quantities of data, like hundreds or thousands or millions of rows, there are more adapt like ETL tools or an enterprise service bus. We open up our protocol, our API to different protocols like SOAP or REST, or right down to the common CSV if need be. So we support all sorts of integration methods. Yeah.
So once you got your app all nicely developed and everything on the free developer org, did it cost to get it back into Salesforce, or is that a free transfer? Or?
No. So I basically scrapped the. I didn't do everything in the developer one. I did my client, my house, my vehicle, and so basically in January I actually had to redo all those fields in the normal org. So.
But if you like, we do have capabilities. Again, they're declarative. You go through a wizard and you can import objects from one org to another. And we see that typically with a more formal development process, like going from a dev environment to, let's say, a QA environment to a staging environment and then a production environment if need be. Or you can take shortcuts there as well. And it's pretty simple. You can point it at source, point it at destination, and move the changes over. Yeah. That's part of Salesforce, yeah, you bet. Yeah.
I can talk to the Squid guys a little bit later, but we've looked at it before. Always look great. One of the challenges, so do you pay separately for Squid, for licenses to?
Yes, let me tell you my ROI though. So $300,000 to $500,000, it would take me 30 to 40 years to pay off the same deal, right? And so basically my ROI is we opened up Austin, Texas and Houston, Texas instead of paying for UI.
Right, no, it makes perfect sense.
Okay.
And we've, and what we always fell back on was, I have some developers, so we've done stuff where I actually, as the leader, sometimes think Squid might have been a better option. But the only thing that was going through my head is they've talked about Lightning UI coming to the desktop and other stuff. I know it's a ways off, but how much, on the Salesforce side, how much of this do you think would be able to be accomplished using the Lightning stuff? And does that create an issue for somebody that's built something in Squid? Eventually, will there be any conflicts?
Squid's actually built in Lightning now, and so any console that's built in Squid, in Lightning, you can actually plug those components right into Squid, and so it would work seamlessly. The question is, you'll have to figure out eventually is, will all the different components talk to each other? Because in Squid it is talking to each other. When I click this, it's actually affecting another object, and so there's that interconnectivity.
Okay, and I can follow, but
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
What's that?
If you put in an iPad, will it read?
Oh yeah, yep. Yep. And so the tabs actually stack underneath, whatever, so I could open on an iPad and it would be a different build. They actually have a Squid mobile builder as well that you could use. I haven't got into that as much, but yeah.
Any more questions, guys? Come on. Don't be shy. So you're all going to develop an application in the next maybe couple of days or so? You feel like you're confident? And
You can do it.
okay. Sounds great. Well, thanks for joining us today, guys. Hope you learned something and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.